Hello and welcome to the DunsPlayFest Podcast, where we talk to some of the people who make our festival possible. DunsPlayFest is a yearly 9-day festival at the beginning of May in Duns in Berwickshire that celebrates new writing and champions emerging artists. We're bringing brand new theatre to the borders. I'm your host, actor, writer and DunsPlayFest trustee, Jamie Main. And in each episode, I will be talking to one of the writers, volunteers, trustees, performers or crew members who help make DunsPlayFest happen. So, without any further ado, let's go on with the show! Today I'm joined by writer and artistic director of Tideline Runners Theatre Company and maker of nice scones, as he's just told me, Rob Flynn. Rob, thanks for talking to me today.
Very welcome.
To start off with, what first sparked your passion for theatre?
My mum. So when I was 6, she took me to see Berwick Opera Act Society doing South Pacific. And it was in a room kind of like this, and there was a full orchestra just on the floor. And you could just hear these people above the orchestra. It was just astounding. I mean, it's a very sort of daft show. And
yeah.
I just went on this journey, and I was like heartbroken when one of the main characters dies. And I thought, yeah, we can do this again. So, we went to see other things, and things I was sort of really too young to be watching at the time I was watching. It was Edward Albee's play, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Went to see that, what a dump, and things like that. And it was just all these really sort of cool shows that I just probably had no right being there at the age I was. And then from there, we saw people doing Gilbert and Sullivan. And that was the thing that really hooked me for just... Like for my writing, it was like a sort of voice that I liked, in that you've got this really sort of quick sort of patter, and then you'll have these really sort of long elegiac sort of solos. And I thought, later, much further down the line, I wasn't like a kid when I hit upon that revelation that could work just as phonics with like dialogue, just as a way of writing dialogue. It's just so quick that people were catching up with you, and then you give them a moment when people stand and hold forth. So yeah, my mum.
So from seeing things that got you interested in theatre, how did you become involved yourself?
I was a little Siamese boy in the in The King and I. There are photos that would have me cancelled forever, but it wasn't my fault. They put me in that makeup. And then I didn't really, they were very, very, very different times. But from then, I didn't really do anything until high school, where there was some GCSE kids were needing somebody to be a part in this little one-act show that we're doing to be graded called, what was it called? As Good as New. And I had to play this boyfriend who turned up with the new girlfriend. And I think I had a heart attack, and then I was going to be stuffed by the grandfather who was into taxidermy. That was yeah. So that was the sort of first bit of being on stage, and I did that was Derek Butler got me to do that, and he was a wonderful sort of director in his time. And then from there, I went to youth theatre with Jonathan Stone to start with, and then Wendy Payne. And from there, I started doing like other people just asked me to do other things because I was generally I was particularly sporty, so I wasn't going to be like playing cricket on a Friday. So I was available, and they'd get me to do things. So I did things with a woman called Chrissy Cairn, who did things like sort of Peter Shaffer plays and things like that. So I got to do things like that. But I was really always more drawn to the other side of things, but just the opportunities weren't always there. But I always kind of did them, and they were I would write, and then they would just get stored away. And I have what I call a coward box. Actually, 4 boxes full of stuff that I wrote in my 20s and didn't show anyone. So yeah, I was pivoting, but then I just kept going because all my friends do it.
What led to you founding Tideline Runners?
Like I said, I was pivoting towards writing. I always loved writing, and I was writing sketches for something called the Berwick Broadcasting Corporation. Okay. Where it's a thing where we'll sometimes take like an old radio show and sort of perform it in the style like you're in the studio watching us. Right. Or we would do like a modern film like Titanic or The Shining and do it in the style of a 1940s radio show.
That sounds fun.
And I was writing little sort of versions like that, and I thought, well, I've got these things. I'd like to maybe, as I suggested, would anyone like to read something else that I was just working on at the time? So we arranged a little read through, and the fella who ran the maltings at the time, the AD, Miles Gregory, turned up to the read through and joined in, and then made me go up and book a date to do that show. With no time to redraft it or anything. It was just going to go on. It was terrible. People seemed to enjoy it, but for me, it wasn't finished. But it was one of those things where, because people were seeing something that I wasn't happy with, it was either just going to kill me or just put a fire in my butt and say, no, I can do better than this. So it's always been that thing to, like, I can do this better. That was the start of that. Just this offhand thing of, okay, put the show on that you've just had me read on almost now, and I just kept going, and hopefully getting better at it. It's not like being an athlete. When you get older as a writer, you tend to get better. So that was that.
So from that spurring you on to keep on writing and creating more, how did you become involved with DunsPlayFest?
It was the first sort of in-house show, and I think some of it was still filmed after lockdown, so it'd be 2022. People had sort of been to see a few of our shows and said, since this thing was up and running, that we should sort of get in touch. I think we did through the website, and we were on tour with our show, Why Henry's So Weird, which to date is still our only sort of family show. So John turned up to see us in Galashiels, and he came backstage and said he really liked it and would be like to bring it to here and do a Q&A afterwards. So we did, and then we were invited back, they seem to be sticking with us, and it's such an amazing little venture. I love it.
It's great to hear. How has DunsPlayFest benefited you as a writer?
I think a lot of the time, I think every other year recently we've opened here. So it's always a big step. Like I think we opened the smallest story here, and I think Bike Radius opened here as well. So it's like opening to like not a home crowd. So it's a much more honest response. Whereas if I was to open it in my local theatre, you get a lot of, you can play it with a very friendly audience. Whereas this is a lot more of this is how it's going to go down, probably generally around when you tour it, and you get a better sort of feedback response. And it's, I think that you get the much better feedback when you ask, because people are honest about what they think of it. And if they've not understood something, and you can explain it to them in the moment, that's great. But then that's probably something that should have been there. If enough people mention it, it's like, that's a problem with your work. And it gives you some time to sort of fine tune that. It's giving you the opportunity to play to an audience that aren't going to. Can you beat that?
Yes, probably. Yeah. Why is it important that DunsPlayFest supports local theatre makers like yourself?
There's something really charming about it because it goes for people at all stages of their career. So you get people like writing their first play that probably have never thought, everyone's got a story in them, and it's usually their relationship with their mother. It's the story they have. It's like, my mum drove me nuts, and that's the play you get. But it's a play worth telling time and time again, and people might not feel that they've earned the right to do it anywhere else, but it's like, I'm at home, and then you can go and see this play, and it's so true because it's happened here. And it's like stories in small places like this hit harder because it's not the big community. It will echo through the whole thing. So you'll come, people will see this themselves on stage, and it's every corner of people who are in Duns players and things who will write a show might also play rugby. So you get the rugby players coming and they'll see themselves, and it brings together all parts of the community. And so you've seen a really cool play, and then a few weeks later you'll see the guy that wrote the play down the street, and you just get to wave to him. And it's like, I can't think of anything very much cooler than that. So.
Can you tell us a bit about the play that you wrote for DunsPlayFest 2025? So that was Bike Radius. Bike Radius,
yeah. So it was kind of like an answering piece to The Smallest Story, which was like a creative way. The Smallest Story was about a play that worked backwards about dealing with grief.
Okay.
So the person remembered their entire life in reverse and watched the person get better. And this was like a creative way of not dealing with your problems, about denial.
Right.
And it's one of those things where they could edit their memories of a traumatic event. So it's very sort of, sort of polished and sheened, and it's not too upsetting. And with that, you're not sort of living the true experience. And by discovering what's true, it finds out it's not so neat. There's not got a nice bow you can put on it. And you have to really experience it. You have to be honest with yourself and live honestly to really live. So that was that. And it was fun to just do something really different. We tend to do things that they always have a bit of darkness in them, but they tend to be usually funnier, whereas this was like more horror adjacent, and it was kind of discovering the thing that, you know, scaring someone is exactly the same as making them laugh. It's that tension and release thing. So it was really nice just to have a very different kind of palette on display. So it was really fun to write and to direct. I really felt like the cast worked well. It was those rehearsals where everyone's really free to just play.
Yes,
so that every rehearsal you come to, they will do something completely different, have a completely different vibe, and it's so much fun to direct. Where you get like a choice of things where it's anything's happening. It's just what's happening in the room.
Yeah, so more interesting. Yeah, I absolutely loved it when I saw it.
Oh, thank you.
One of the biggest parts of our ethos as a festival is that the conversation after the play is just as important as the play itself. I think that your play from this year is a prime example of that. I remember like attacking you afterwards with questions about, because the ending was kind of left open up to interpretation.
Yeah, I do like an open-ended.
Yes, and the discussions afterwards in the cabaret area afterwards were fascinating. Can you talk a bit about the importance of that?
Yeah, because particularly now that this project's grown, so you get more outside work in, there's a lot more challenging work there.
Yeah.
And if this was like you were watching it, like you were watching a film, and you come across something that's that intense about something, you might go to things, this was really offensive, and you would write a blog on Facebook, and that would be the end of it. Whereas being offended's never the end of an experience. It's the start of one, where it's like you're discovering something in yourself that didn't sort of meet the work, and it gives you a chance to sort of like just find out what was the seed that got there. So it's one of those things where it's being a lot more open and coming across situations you wouldn't possibly never have thought you would find yourself in again. You've experienced something quite dangerous in a safe way, and then you get to pick at it and inform yourself. So it's an education in what you've just experienced, particularly if it's something new and troubling.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't think everything has to be entertainment. It's always a bonus if it is, if you've sort of spent your hard earned on a night out. But if you've been sent out sort of quivering and shaking into the night, it's nice to know that the people that created it are here. And you can just say, dude, what the actual? Or,
what have you just done to me?
Or ask them questions and, just ask for some reassurances that, like, are you okay? When you wrote that, were you okay? Are you okay now? I like that side of it a lot.
Can you tell us about what we can expect from Tideline Runners at DunsPlayFest 2026?
Yeah, it's the dumbest thing we've ever done.
Oh, brilliant.
We figured after like 4 or 5 years of bringing some fairly intense sort of psychological work to us, where we're doing a one-act show, and it's about a conspiracy cult, and it goes from day one of them recruiting in a village hall for new members to the end of the world in 3 scenes.
Right. It's quite a unique concept.
It's not been done before. There's a reason for that. It's so dumb and really silly. And we've never done like the funny voices, silly walks kind of show before. So we're going to do one of those. So we're doing that. We're bringing what could be the dumbest show of the year to Duns. And it's opening here. It's on a much shorter run. So that's what's next.
I'm excited for that now. That sounds fantastic. Our tagline is bringing brand new theatre to the borders. Why is DunsPlayFest important to the local community?
I mean, like I was saying before, there's the people who bring their stories here. This isn't the only thing they do. They're not just an actor or a writer. They're your postman, or they play rugby, or they work locally in another part of the community. And it's all about kind of being seen, and for all that you live things together, there'll be surprising things about that person, and you get to learn about that in a really creative way that's sort of surprising and delightful and often really funny. What I love about this community is how it's the sort of self-deprecating humor that goes with, like, there's nothing ever happens in Duns.
Yes.
And the Red Lion shows, where it's so keyed in, and just the specificities of the language is really just, it's great to see. I always try and check out all the sort of shows about here, because you just see just the delight in the audience, and it's like, and then sometimes the surprise where it's like, I had no idea that was a thing. So that's important for here, and it's just knits the community, because you'll get people, the rugby players come to see the story about them, all the people from the different clubs will come to see their story told.
Yeah, seeing yourself represented.
Yeah. And, while you're there, you might take a chance on seeing some other things that you'd never, because you'll get like a day ticket. So you'll see that, and then you'll see the National Theatre, the Northern Touring Theatre Company's version of Frankenstein. So, you get to see that as well on the same night. So it's, yeah. And I think it upskills a lot of people. People get a lot more ambitious. They'll see like a bigger project or like a more professional project, and they'll go, I want to do something like that, and they'll jump on it. So I love it for that.
How is DunsPlayFest important to the wider Scottish theatre community?
I think I've heard rumours of other sort of things like this popping up in small places around, and it's so I think it's been like patient zero for a really sort of beautiful groundswell, particularly like working class art.
Yeah,
because you get a lot of the art you see created in theatre is written by people who have come from sort of quite moneyed backgrounds and things, because they have the fallback if it doesn't work. They've had their go. Whereas to come as a writer or a director from a more working class background, there's a lot of danger in that. And to get a really sort of solid, established grounding with an audience who will be honest with you is really invaluable. And the more things like this can happen, or if more of them, if we start like integrating between the different things, it's like, here's the best of another venue's play festival comes here and it gets shared around. It could be the start of something really, really wonderful, homegrown working class art, which is really, you don't see a lot of, or nowhere near enough of. So that'd
be fantastic to see happen. Yeah. We're getting to the big, deep questions now. Okay. Why is theatre important to wider society?
Sarah had a question to me last year, and I didn't answer it particularly well, but I could answer it better now for you here, is that they're big proponents of theatre for societal change. And my answer back then was, if I thought I had to change society with something that I write, I wouldn't write a blooming word. But it's like, you're generally having a conversation with someone else. It's that thing of, what do you want and what's standing in your way? And that's the thesis of drama. It's like, what they want, why isn't it happening, and why is this happening now? And to have that, if you can change that one person's mind, that character's mind, and everyone that's speaking to each other is right, and you can change the scale, then you've done it for that one person, and an audience is just a gathering of one person's.
Yeah.
So they go out and they see something that they might not have thought about before, and they get to think about it, and then they talk about it, and then other people see it and they talk about it. So the fact that art has, particularly in times like this, where, I don't know if you've noticed, Jamie, things are a bit awful everywhere. Just kind of awful everywhere. There's Nazis, Jamie, again. Nazis. And we're having to write plays that say, these Nazis, they're not so good. So, and it's just those things of just presenting like intelligent, well sort of drafted sort of things that explain, this is who you are, this is why it is or isn't a threat, this is why it's a good thing, and people get to take those thoughts out with them and talk about them. And it is talking with other people, it's a big thing, and people do that with theatre more than, I would say, sort of cinema and television. They'll talk about, did you see when Thingy died, and that's about as deep as it gets. With theatre, it's because it's been something that's so there, it's got this real sort of haptic, tactile quality to it. It's something that stays with you longer, I feel.
On a personal level, why is theatre important to you?
Okay, you may have noticed I brought a prop.
Yes.
So When I was at school growing up in the early 90s, there was a thing, and it was going on for far too long. There was a thing called Section 28. Do you know about that? It was,
I know of it.
yeah. So it was the thing of basically it's Margaret Thatcher, where a lot of wonderful things came from. Went on TV and said some children think they have the most inalienable right to be gay, and teachers couldn't say anything that would say, you know, what you're feeling is fine, what you're doing is right. You had to just be internally, you had to be closeted. You couldn't do anything. Something terrible happened to me, and when I went to the teachers, they could do nothing about it. But if I went to the police about it, I would be suspended or expelled. That's how dark it got.
Yeah.
And I'd got into sort of reading a lot of theatre through Doe and Chris Shaw, who had a bookshop, and a lot of things. They got me into like Ibsen and Strindberg. And then I happened across this. This is a new copy that I picked up, Angels in America, by Tony Kushner. Have you seen this?
No.
It's set during the sort of AIDS crisis in the 80s when Ronald Reagan was doing nothing about it and just basically letting gay men die because they didn't matter. And there's a point where the character Pryor, Walter, goes up to heaven, and they're going to decide is he going to stay in heaven or go to hell. And he decides that he wants to stay on Earth, and he basically says, but still, bless me anyway. I want more life. I can't help myself, I do. I've lived through such terrible times, and there are people who have lived through much, much worse. But you see them living anyway. And when they're more spirit than body, more sores than skin, when they're burned in an agony, when flies lay eggs in the corner of the eyes of their children, they live. Death usually has to take life away. I don't know if that's just the animal. I don't know if it's just not braver to die, but I recognize the habit, the addiction to being alive. We live past hope. And if I can find hope anywhere, that's it. That's the best I can do. And it's so much, not enough. It's so inadequate, but bless me anyway. Bless me anyway. I want more life. How about that, eh? I read that when I was sort of 17 or 18. And it was like that whole awful thing. It was like, I feel seen is a thing I've heard, which when you're young, I found it's quite reassuring. If you feel seen at my age, it's horrible. It's like, oh gosh, yeah, there was that. But yeah, there's that. Also, he takes off by saying, and if God ever returns, take him to court. He walked out on us. He ought to pay. So that's a good kiss off. So it's literally at times saved me. It's when you feel like you get shut in these corners when you're in a sort of marginalised part of the community, particularly like gay people were in the 90s, you get shut away, and it's nice to know that you're not alone. It might be dark everywhere you are, but there's light somewhere, and it's enough light to keep you going. So it's that. I
don't think you can really get much more important than that.
It has saved me this year. It's like this year was tough, and just that I was probably doing the wrong play and the right play at the same time to get me through what I was feeling.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, it's been. Is that the end of it? Are we done?
I think so. Yeah, I don't really know how to move on from that. Yeah.
Shall we do a shot of vodka and just get on with our night?
Well, thank you, Bob. Thanks so much for talking to me. Thanks.
Rise of alcoholism. Just after this.
That's clever. Yeah. I hope that's going to start some conversations. Yeah.
What, Tony Kushner?
Yeah. Thank you to my guest, Bob Flynn, and as ever to our amazing festival producer, Sarah Best, and our brilliant board of trustees, especially Eric and Ramsey, for all their help with recording. That's a wrap for another episode. Make sure to subscribe to the DunsPlayFest Podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can catch our video podcast if you'd like to see our faces. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok at DunsPlayFest, and check out our website www.dunsplayfest.org.uk. All the links are in the show notes. If you liked this episode, please tell your friends, and if you didn't, then don't. Thanks for listening. And please join us next time where I'll be talking to Karen Anderson from Rogers Youth Theatre and DunsPlayFest trustee Eric Bransonstone. See you then.